In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly the kind of guitars that I think that you should be considering if you're a beginner guitar player. Firstly, I would recommend avoiding any kind of tremolo style bridge and choosing a hardtail or fixed bridge style guitar. This is a Strat, and while I think that these make really good beginner guitars, they're quite hard to find with a fixed bridge like this one, but there are models out there and they're not quite as rare as they used to be. Alternatively, something like a Telecaster generally comes with a fixed bridge. The problem with tremolo bridges is that they can be difficult to set up properly and maintain. Many come from the factory set up in a way that we call floating, which means that you can pull up or down on the tremolo arm to raise or lower the pitch of the strings. And this will become problematic when trying to tune or when it comes to playing, and definitely when it comes to breaking or when it's time to change strings. You can convert these style of bridges to work in a way much more like a hardtail by either adding more springs in the back, tightening specific screws in the back, or adding a piece of wood which stops the tremolo moving entirely. And if it has this style of bridge, a double lock-in or Floyd Rose style bridge, then run while you still can. Unless you don't like being happy, then go for it. But don't say I didn't warn you. Number 2. If you're playing rock or anything heavy, then I would highly recommend going for something with either a humbucker single pickup configuration like this Strat, or something with 2 humbuckers like most Gibson style guitars. Firstly, it'll give you a sound more like the kind of tracks that you're playing along with, which should help psychologically with motivation. Secondly, when you're playing those distorted riffs and chords, it will stop that nasty hiss and hum that comes along with distortion. It's why these kind of pickups were invented in the first place. Humbuckers, to buck the hum. Buck the hum. They'll help a lot if you're playing in front of a computer screen, and different kinds of lighting can cause noise issues as well. But your Metallica, Foo Fighters, Blink-182 and Slipknot riffs are going to sound much bigger and better using a humbucker. If you're enjoying my video, please consider subscribing. I make videos about guitar stuff all the time, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber. It's free and it helps me out so much. Thank you. And number 3 is buy a Squier. It doesn't have to be a Squier, although they do have some amazing guitars right now. What I really mean is buy something from a reputable brand like Squier. It'll be much more likely to have better quality checks, a decent warranty, and if any parts need repairing or upgrading in the future, they'll be a lot easier and cheaper to source and work on. You can get great Squiers now for about £130, and they'll last you a very long time, and you'll be able to grow as a player with them for years if you choose to. Other brands I'd say are similar are Jackson, the JS11 and JS12 series. Ibanez Geos start from about £170 and they're very good. Or there's the safe bet of the Yamaha Pacifica, which also starts from about £170. Very reliable, great reputation. It's the boring choice, but sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. I have loads of videos on my channel showing off cheap store brand guitars like Harley Benton and Faisley, and they can be really good, and you do end up getting more guitar for your money. But chances of getting a good one are far less, and chances of getting one with issues are far higher. This is from my experience. I think as a new player, you might not realise what these issues are for a good while. And you know, they're perfect for people like me who can do some tech stuff themselves, basic wiring, cleaning up frets, sorting out fret sprout, adjusting the action, intonation and truss rods. I just don't think that those kind of cheap guitars are great for beginners. Or at least, I think there are better options out there. I know in the 70s and 80s people had to learn on some horrific guitars and we still ended up with some amazing players, but why make it harder on yourself? And that actually leads me on to my next point, which is number 4. Buy new if you can, and in person if possible, whether that's a small independent store or somewhere a bit bigger. There's so many good deals to be had in the used market, but as a new player, it'd be really easy to go for something with lots of issues that you don't really notice at first. The safer bet is to pay a little bit more for that peace of mind and guidance by buying new in the store. When you move on to that second or third guitar, then you can start making the most of used deals, and that's when the fun really begins. But initially, the objective is to get something decent and problem-free to learn on, with nothing to get in your way, no excuses to stop you picking the guitar up. And then this allows you to take advantage of some of the cheaper options that I said to avoid before, like Harley Benton and Faisley. Over here in the UK, Andertons have East Coast and PMT have Antiquity. If you buy in store with one of these brands, then they'll be much more likely to be reasonably well set up and looked after. It's in the store's interest to keep these ones in good shape to entice people to buy them. Yeah, it means that a load of people would have played it before you, but it'll be cheaper than a more desirable brand, and you'll be able to probably negotiate a price, a deal, be it like a cheaper price, some packs of strings and a strap thrown in, or maybe some strap locks. 5th, although I've got a couple of bonus tips after this one, but 5th, if you're a kid or if you're buying for a kid, say from around the ages of 5 to 6 to about 11 or 12, I would say that this is the perfect guitar for you. It's called a Minion. No, not that Minion. It's from Jackson. I actually bought my first one when my kid was 4, and it might be a bit young, maybe. And this is the second one that I bought. It ticks so many boxes. It's got humbucker pickups, it's got a fixed bridge, it's from a company with a great reputation, and you can buy them new for about £150. Both of these that I've bought have come set up very well with no issues. It's a 2/3 scale guitar. It doesn't feel like a toy. It even has graphite reinforcement rods in the neck to help with stability. It's a real guitar, and they come in cool colours, and they look really good. You want something that you or your kid is going to want to pick up and play because it's cool. This, it's a cool guitar. Okay, so a quick couple of bonus tips. First of all, starter packs. They can be fine, but you will find yourself needing to upgrade most of what comes in a starter pack in a short amount of time. The cable will be bad quality and it will break. The gig bag is more of a dust cover and it's really not going to protect the guitar in any kind of meaningful way. The amp will most likely sound awful and grate on everyone around you. I'd recommend getting the best guitar you can afford. Going onto Amazon and getting yourself a cheap £30 or £40 wireless unit from Joyo or Legato, maybe something like this, but I'll link some decent ones below. I know it feels like a slight extravagance, but it's worth it, especially if it's for younger kids, because they do not mix well with cables. And get yourself something like this Black Star Fly 3 for about £50 or £60. A £10 clip-on tuner, and that setup will last you years and years. These little amps are brilliant. Go onto Instagram and you'll see people like Phil X from Bon Jovi, Doug Aldrich from Whitesnake, Phil Collin from Def Leppard. They all use these little things to practice. They do a Bluetooth version as well, so you can jam along with backing tracks or whatever from your phone, or the basic ones like this have an auxiliary in, so you can just use a mini jack cable. And the second bonus tip is to buy something that inspires you to pick it up and play as much as possible. Get a cool colour, get a cool shape. I'd avoid things like V's and Explorers, but look at Strats, Tellys, SGs, Les Pauls, offsets like Jazzmasters and Jaguars, Mustangs if you're a bit smaller, Ibanez RGs, Jackson Dinkies. There's so much cool stuff out there. And if you're still unsure, then check out this video I made going through what guitars I would absolutely avoid if I was a beginner choosing a guitar.